to order. I'd like to ask Pastor Chester Davis to pray for us and John Grantham to lead us in the pledge.
Our Father, our God, again, that we come before thee with come with thanksgiving, praise, and honor. Asking God that you bless this city council meeting, oh God, that you would enhance our minds, oh God, that we be cognitive of our community and how to best lead it. We ask that you bless, oh God, all those that will speak today. And then remember our country as a whole, our soldiers that's in foreign land, oh God, and our Constitution. We thank you now in Jesus' name.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will call the meeting to order, March 23rd. Thank you all for coming. And the first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of our March 2nd meeting. So everyone's had a chance to read those. Entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, second by Commissioner Mason, approve the consent agenda. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0. Next item is Mr. City Attorney. We have quite a few ordinances we need to talk about, so if we'll get started, would be good.
All right, Mayor, the first ordinance that we have on the agenda is ordinance 579. That is an ordinance that deals with the election qualifying process, whereby a candidate for city commissioner or mayor can qualify via petition as opposed to a qualifying fee. If this is the second reading and adoption, if this is adopted today, it would take effect on August 1st of this year, meaning it wouldn't have any effect on the upcoming election if there is an upcoming. Okay. I need a motion for a second reading and call for a public hearing and adoption.
Okay.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, there's a motion for second reading of ordinance 579.
Second.
There's a second. Commissioner Lowry, discussion. Anyone having discussion on that? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0.
Ordinance number 579, ordinance of the city of Port St. Joe, Florida, allowing candidates for the offices of mayor, commissioner, and commissioner the option of qualifying for the election for those city offices by obtaining signatures via petition in lieu of paying the qualifying fee pursuant to Chapter 99 Florida statutes, providing for repeal of all ordinance in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, is we'll open for public hearing. Anyone got any comments on ordinance 579? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adoption.
So moved.
Commissioner Ashbrook made the motion. Second by Commissioner Lowry. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0. All right.
The next ordinance on the agenda is ordinance number 582, which is a Sunset Shore Small Scale Plan and Review. Jim, I believe this has gone before the zoning board and they have recommended it be passed.
That is correct.
I need a motion for a first reading.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion for ordinance 582, Sunset Shore Small Scale Plan Amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Hoffman. Any discussion? Yes, sir, please come forward. State your name and sign in.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Curtis Brown. I live at 377 with Chapel Drive in Weewa, but I'm here representing Barefoot Cottages, which is directly across the road from this proposed zoning change.
Correct.
So there's 92 people that live there, 92 property owners, about 17 full-timers. So as far as residents go, but they've expressed concern. They want me to convey their concerns today. When the PDRB met on this, their concerns and their discussion centered around density, but there's more to a zoning change than density. This is changing the character of that plat from residential to allowing commercial uses, and that's what they wanted me to speak on it as far as concerned. you guys have a tough job, very tough job, because we're growing like crazy. You can look across the road and see that. A lot of the character of the area is single-family residential development, which is really what a lot of us were drawn here for, a lot of us stay here for, is that type of development. It's a very tough job to balance smart growth with the investors' requests. We usually don't put high-use commercial facilities closely adjoining to a residential area, and that's what is being considered here. When you go home, or when you think about being at home, imagine just standing in your driveway, turning around, and looking across the road and seeing a small-scale hotel go up across the street from you. Because if you can change the zoning in a residential area from residential to commercial, there, you can do it pretty much in a number of places around town. So that's really the concern of the people in the area. A lot of people move here to get away from the squalid sprawl of South Walton. They don't want to see that here. They want to see a more controlled, sustained, single-family residential, comfortable environment. We already have 4 geographically distinct commercial districts within the city of Fort St. Joe. Windmark, the area around the Dollar General store and right around there. And then you've got the big commercial district around Reed Avenue. And then you've got around the hospital and the areas out there. And the question is, do we really want to add another distinct commercial district to the area? We're growing, and I view that as a good thing. I know everybody has misgivings on it as far as that goes, but as long as we're single-family residential development, I think that will be a comfortable growth, a nice area to continue to live and prosper in. And I would just say that we need to keep the area as a targeted growth pattern rather than just allowing things to keep popping up in different places around the area. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. Is there anybody else, anybody from the Sunset Shores group like to speak? If not, whoever, come right up.
Thank you. My name is Larry Wagner, and I live at 537 Windmark Way. That's what I'm writing down. My house is about 250 feet away from one of the parcels that you're considering a land use change for. It's the parcel that is at the end of Butler Road, and that's the parcel I want to speak to you about. I am not opposed to development. I think something needs to happen there. What I do suggest or recommend or hope that you consider is not issuing a land use change in that particular parcel. I say that for 3 simple reasons. The first is, and I don't profess to be land use development, I don't have any expertise in that whatsoever. But in reading the application that was submitted, it indicated to me that under the current R3 zoning, they're allowed to construct a 30-unit condo building. And their proposed plan is to construct a 30-unit condo building. So my first point is, it's not required for what they want to do for the proposed plan, as I understand the proposed plan, what they put forward. The second is, I think you need to look at compatibility with the surrounding land uses. And the Windmark subdivision is strictly 100% single-family homes there. This parcel is, Windmark is as close as you can get to this particular parcel, if you will. Changing it from an R3 to a mixed use would allow commercial uses and industrial uses. I'm not saying they're proposing that at this point in time, but things happen, as you all know, and you've opened up the avenue and the door to do that. The last item that I would like to mention is that as I read the application, the stated reason for requesting the land use change was so that you have overall compatibility of the development, if you And I'll circle back to my first point, which is that if they're allowed a 30-unit condo building now, and they're proposing a 30-unit condo building, then I don't see how it changes anything with respect to conformity with their respect to their plan. So those are what I'd like you to consider, and those are my reasons for asking you to not approve a land use change for this particular parcel. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Further discussion? Anyone? Anyone from the audience?
Mayor, I do have one thing that I'd like to say. This has been a really tough one for me to wrap my head around. I wear many hats in this city, and one of them is a tourism hat. On one hand, I don't see the need for the number of hotels that we've already approved. So, but it's not our job to decide on whether a business plan is a good one or not. As far as the usage, there is residential on the other side of the street, but I'm not exactly sure, Jim, maybe you can tell me what is Barefoot Cottages zoned right now?
Barefoot Cottages is zoned R3. The main corridor, majority of the properties are zoned commercial. The commercial district usually is on your front streets, which would be Highway 98. Barefoot Cottages, the front section is zoned commercial, the same, basically what they're looking at here. This is a mixed use. The density would stay the same at 15 units per acre, but it would allow for commercial and residential.
But with this, they're changing that piece closest to the water to mixed use as well, is that correct?
That is correct. That's the instant request, yes.
I mean, it looks to me like they're trying to conform with having commercial along the road, but that little piece at the end being commercial as well takes that out. I have some thinking to do.
You, in reference to what piece are you talking about, Commissioner Ashbrook, that small?
The 42800R at the tip, that also is being requested, and that's the piece I believe the condominium was supposed to go on, and that's already approved. The condo can go in an R3, I believe.
Got it.
My comment, Mr. Mayor, is the city, much like a lot of cities, counties throughout the state, they form a planning and development review board. And that review board is made up of business people, citizens, and it's to try and, in my mind, they're tasked with reviewing requests for development to make sure they meet the requirements of the state. And then they make a recommendation, in this case, to the city commissioners. You've heard me say it many times. It's gonna take a big impact for me to go against the planning and development board's recommendation. I have no problem if we need more time to make a decision, but the review board has come to the city and offered or suggested that we approve it.
Just a reminder, this vote is for a first reading, it's not a
Right.
adoption, so there is time.
And at this point, we have no idea what the developer actually plans to develop there. They're just asking for the change of the category. Then, well, the density be the same.
Any other comments?
Only question I have, Jim, originally what they had there years ago, I guess what was approved is nowhere near what the plan is moving forward. Is that the case?
They have not applied for a development order, but yes, sir, all indications are that the density would not change based on this right here. It's 15 units before, 15 units from now. What this would allow for flexibility, just like in our downtown area, that, they may want to put a little store down below, or they may want to put some kind of commercial use in there as well. And by having that flexibility, you can do those type of things. Yes.
Any other comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0 for first reading.
Ordinance number 582. An ordinance amending the comprehensive plan future land use map of the city of Fort St. Joe, Florida. By and through procedures required for small-scale map amendments pursuant to authority under state statute, section 163.3187, specifically changing parcel ID number 04561-400R and 04280-00R from high-density residential R3 to mixed use, providing the amendment of the zoning map of the city of Fort St. Joe, providing for repeal of any conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okey doke, let's move on to 584.
584, as the commissioners are aware, is the annexation of two particular parcels of city-owned, currently city-owned property over by where Public Works is, the city Public Works is now, and then there's 58 acres behind that. I need a motion for a second reading, public discussion, and adoption.
Okay, motion.
So moved.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hoffman. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0.
Ordinance number 584, an ordinance providing for the voluntary annexation of parcel ID number 03013-001R and parcel ID number 03017-005R, providing a legal description of the lands to be annexed, more specifically described in this ordinance as petitioned by the property owner pursuant to section 171.044 Florida statute, providing for the redefining of the city boundaries to include said lands, making certain findings, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay? Now, anyone from the audience like to comment on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adoption. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, and a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hoffman. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0, so we're getting our property in the city. Okay, next.
Moving on to ordinance 585, and that is basically a large-scale plan amendment changing the zoning for the particular property that was just annexed into the city. I need a motion for a first reading and a request to transmit to the DEO.
Okay, Jim, would you like to comment on this and the procedures, or we have Ray Greer with us, if he'd like to comment on it, the procedures we have to follow for something of this nature? Thank you for coming, Ray.
Good afternoon, I'm Ray Greer, this is 2910 Cherry Forest Parkway, Tallahassee, Florida, and I am your land use consultant. This is a large-scale land use amendment, so what we will do, we'll transmit this amendment, if you approve it here today, we'll transmit it to the state, and it will be reviewed for the next 30 days by the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, and then all the review state agencies, which is DEP, DOT, and the Water Management District. They'll review and provide any comments back, and we will bring it back in about a month, about 30 days, 40 days from now, after we get their comments back, and we'll bring it back for you for adoption. And so this is a two-stage process. This is the first reading and transmittal. They'll go to the state. I'll coordinate with the state on their review, and then we'll bring it back to you next month for adoption.
Very good, thank you. Everybody on board, understand, questions for Ray?
Just to clarify, this is going from R1 to R3, correct, Mayor?
What's going, well,
We've got it, what we've got is, we've got where the Public Works Department is, that parcel, it was public in the county, it's coming in as public to the city, so it will stay the same. Now, the parcel that was donated by St. Joe County to the city, the 58 acres, it actually has two land use designations on it. And what it is, it's basically the 28 acres, the southern part of it that's closer to the existing subdivision, that is actually gonna be low density residential. And then we've got another piece that's higher up, that's 25 acres, is the northern piece, and we're gonna make it R3. That way it'll provide flexibility over the overall parcel for some design and innovation in the design.
So you've got the R1 buffer up against the other R1 before you get
That's
R3.
correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So we provided that buffer. So the R1 is adjacent to the existing R1.
Well, there's also railroad property that's a buffer between
Yes.
the two R1, yeah, so, yeah.
It is,
So-
and, it's ag in the county. It could not be developed in the county for the intended uses that St. Joe County gave it to the city for. It does need a land use change, and it does need to come into the city to be able to do that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ray, appreciate it. Okay, I'll, entertain a motion for first reading of ordinance 585. Mr. Ashbrook made the motion, there's a second. Second by Commissioner Langston. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0.
Ordinance number 585. An ordinance amending the comprehensive plan, future land use map of the city of Port St. Joe, Florida, by and through procedures required for large-scale map amendments pursuant to authority under state statute section 163.3184, specifically changing parcel ID number 03013-001R and parcel ID number 03017-005R from Gulf County Future Land Use Public to the City of Port St. Joe Future Land Use Public, and from Gulf County Future Land Use Agricultural to City of Port St. Joe Future Land Use Low Density Residential R1 and High Density Residential R3, providing for the amendment of the zoning map of the City of Port St. Joe, and providing for repeal of any conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Nope. Let's go to 586.
Ordinance number 586 is, it's a land, it's a PUD, and it was already before the zoning board, and a recommendation was granted. I need a motion for a first reading.
Okay. Entertain a motion, first reading of ordinance 586, which is a, Palmetto Bluff. It's a PUD on the, southern end of Long Avenue.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna abstain. There's conflict with.
Okay, okay.
Motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, may I have a second? Second by Commissioner Langston. Discussion, anyone? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0.
Ordinance number 586, an ordinance of the City of Port St. Joe, Florida, relating to and amending the zoning code, amending the City of Port St. Joe zoning map, designating and establishing the Palmetto Bluff Planned Unit Development Zone District, adopting certain regulatory requirements for the Palmetto Bluff Planned Unit Development Zone District to supersede requirements in the City of Port St. Joe zoning code, providing for repeal of any conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
One abstention, pass 4-0.
Next ordinance is number 587, and that is dealing with moving the city election date from where it is currently in May to coincide with the state election and national election dates in November. This is for, I need a motion for a reading and an adoption, and this would only go, and this would have to be by referendum, and it would only go on the ballot if there is a contested election in the next election.
Correct, okay. Everybody understand that, and the reasoning behind it is to twofold, increase voter participation as well as save the city some money if we coincide with those. So for those that are not familiar with what we're trying to do, that's the reason. So, I'll entertain a motion for ordinance 587, second reading and adoption.
So,
Commissioner Hoffman made a motion. Second by Commissioner Lowry. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0.
Ordinance number 587, an ordinance of the City of Port St. Joe, Florida, providing for a ballot referendum on amending Article 2, Section 13, and Article 4, Section 123 of the Charter of the City of Port St. Joe, by changing the date of the city's general and runoff elections to the same date set forth in Chapter 100.061 and Chapter 100.031 Florida statutes, providing for repeal of ordinance in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date.
Okey-doke. One more.
And last but not least is a resolution 2021-2, which deals with the capital improvement plan. This came before the board at the last meeting, whereby the board decided to table it until this.
Right, Jim, you wanna bring us up to date, comment on that?
Yes, sir. There's one change in there. There was discussion about the sports complex location. We made it generic. We pulled it out and just said sports complex. Before it showed two different locations, right now it just says
Very good. Very good. I just wanted to make sure it stayed on there. Okay, entertain a motion for resolution 2021-02, the CIP plan.
So moved.
Commissioner Ashbrook made the motion, there's a second. Second by Commissioner Lowry. Discussion, anyone? Anybody on the board? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0.
Resolution 2021-2, and a resolution of the city of Port St. Joe, Florida, amending the capital improvements element of the comprehensive plan, amending the 5-year capital improvement plan, adopting the updated school district 5-year work plan, providing for repeal of all ordinances/resolutions and/or parts of ordinance/resolutions in conflict herewith, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Okay,
That is all I have for now.
all right. Anybody have any questions for the attorney? All right, Jim, turn it over to you.
Yes, sir. COVID-19 update. Currently, we did get the numbers back from the health department. We are still trending down. The latest numbers we have is a 6% positivity rate in Gulf County. So those numbers are still trending down. And I believe it's been opened up for 50 and older.
Just, don't let your guard down and, remind your friends and neighbors to get the shot when they can. It's the only thing I can say.
All right, moving on to new business, and the first item we have is a development order request for Taco Bell. This also went before the planning board. The reason it had to go to planning board because they were short a few on their parking spots. Other than that, it probably would have been approved by the technical advisory committee. Did get approval from the planning board with a favorable recommendation for the shortage of 3 parking spots. And we also have Mr. Baker here today to answer any questions you may have, on the Taco Bell.
Okay. Anybody got any comments? Mr. Baker, got a comment? You like to come forward?
I won't take but just a minute. Mr. Mayor, we're pleased to be here. I've gotten to know a lot of folks through the process, and if we get the development order, we live right down the road in Panama City. We've been coming here fishing and enjoying the community for a long time. We hope to be a part of it. We take pride in our building and how our people operate. We'll be good citizens with the high school. We do a lot of work. I've already talked with, I see Eddie back there with the church next door to us. We'll do some work there. So we appreciate being here and hopefully obtain development. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions?
I've got one. The number one question that I get asked on the street now is, when are you gonna be open?
To be able to staff it properly, October 1st is what we're shooting for right now. We'll bring a lot of managers in to help train the new team to make it run really smooth from the get-go, so we don't get off to a bad start. So probably October, November. Once we start, 3 or 4 months to get it going.
Any other questions?
I'd just like to say that, when meeting with Mr. Baker, I like the way that he wanted to get involved in the community and not try to just come in and do things without letting people know. And I just want to let you know, I appreciate it. It's gonna bring in a lot of jobs. I talked to him about it, so, I think it's gonna be a good thing for especially for that part of the community.
Yeah.
Very good.
Appreciate your help,
Yeah.
man.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right.
All righty. Okay, I need a motion to, approve the, request for downsizing parking from 26 to 23 spaces for Taco Bell.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook. There's a second by Commissioner Lowry. Discussion. Anyone in the audience? Anyone? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor, the next item I have is the current city projects. We did put a page in there for you.
Still got a lot going on.
Yes, sir. A lot of projects going on.
Yep, yep.
Any questions?
Anything? All right, moving right along.
The next item is the Scout Hut building. We were asked at the last meeting to evaluate the building and see what needed to be done to it. Mr. Grantman has went and looked at it, thank you for looking at it. It does need quite a bit of work. We're talking about roof work, we're talking about sheet rock, we're talking about AC, total new system. So at this point, we're thinking, we're looking somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000 to $30,000 for the work that needs to be done to bring it back up to code. So we want to bring it back to you and tell you what our findings are to see. You want to move forward and if so, do you want us to break that down and just get quotes for items less than $10,000, or do you want to go out for a GC to do it all? How would you like for us to proceed?
Do we have money left in our insurance spend from the storm still?
We do have insurance funds available, yes.
If I may, Mr. Anderson, I did throughout, I semi broke that down as it was, what we saw. The roofing system itself would be north of $20,000. The AC is certainly under the bid threshold. 3 windows, fascia board, the drywall will be under the bid threshold as well. So preliminary numbers that we're looking at would be right around 12.4 to do the AC and everything else minus the roof. The roof, I think, is something that will sustain itself for a while, but at some point we do probably need to put that into the budgetary process and then let the board determine if we want to do that then and through that sense of living. So that's
Do you, have a key to that building, or do you get with, the Scoutmaster Vandertulip?
Mr. Vanderbilt and I met down there, that's correct. I don't have a key for that.
Well, I think what I'd like for us to do on our own time individually would be get up with Mr. Vandertulip, go through the building, come back with your opinions of what needs to be done or what we can get by with minimally, probably the roof for sure, but like look at the inside, see if it's been taken care of and that type of thing.
The interior appeared to be fairly well taken care of. It was 3 windows, one was broken, and actually all 3 were broken during the hurricane. One was actually broken in 2, so there were people that broke into that during the storm. So, you know, it's minimal work, but, you know, it's still fairly, it's around the $7,000 mark to do all of that.
Okay.
I think the AC came in around $5,400 for replacement.
And Mayor, if we want to wait on that roof, the AC was what I was really concerned about. It gets awfully hot in there and the kids are meeting almost daily.
Well, from a security standpoint, I think it'll take care of the windows too.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. And what was the windows?
Well, to do the interior and exterior work that needs to be done to repair it, you know, pre-Michael, if you will, it's right around $7,000 to do that work. Putting drywall, window replacements, you know, the fascias were ripped off, things like that. So everything minus the roof.
Rough estimate, 12.5 to get
12.5
that.
would take care of everything you needed minus the roof.
Does the roof leak?
No, and at this point it does not, so that's why we kind of skipped over the roof.
I just don't like the idea of replacing sheet rock if you have a roof problem.
Correct, and I would have recommended the roof had that been an issue, but I think we're good for a year or two before we may have to consider that.
Well, I think we need to fix the building. I'd like to go and look at the building myself, but I can just tell you right now, my recommendation would be to fix everything needed in the building.
We've got the money today.
Right. It's not a building that just sits idle, it's being used weekly. We own it, we should take care of it.
Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion, a specific motion of what items to be fixed, at the present time, and then we move forward with any others that need it down the road.
I'll make a motion to repair all the items suggested by Mr. Grantland, excluding the roof at this time. Then after a review, if it looks like we gotta have a roof, we'll revisit it for a roof.
Okay, motion, is there a second?
Mayor, I'll second it, but I do need to disclose that I am the chairman of the Boy Scouts here in Gulf County, but I have no personal interest other than being the chair of that board.
Fine with that, so second, Commissioner Ashbrook. Discussion, do we need to bid that out, Jim, or are we gonna do them individually so they'll be under the bid
If
threshold,
you're
all
doing
of it?
individually under the $10,000 mark, we can do it at the staff level.
Okay, all right, everybody clear with that? Okay, all right, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0.
The next item we have is the Senior Citizens Building. Mayor and myself, we did meet with the county administrator and the county chairman. And one of the items that was discussed, chairman did bring up, requesting that we consider going in thirds with the actual, with the county to repair their building. It was damaged, the roof was damaged during Hurricane Michael. I think it was $50,000 what their estimate was.
Correct, yeah. They were hoping each one of us kick in 17,000 to, get that back in shape. They do a lot in the community. And, of course, they haven't during the pandemic, but, it's I'd say a mini civic center, for lack of a better word, Centennial being the big one and Washington Gym being a big one, but that's kind of a mini spot for, reunions and so on and so forth. So, notwithstanding them doing the Meals on Wheels and taking care of seniors during the week.
I support the idea, Mayor. I think our citizens utilize that building. My son took karate in that building for years, so it does get used by city citizens as much as it does everybody else. Probably more so by the city citizens.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, I got it.
If we do it, I mean, we do have a motion, let's cap it, I would say,
At that amount.
at a certain amount.
Certainly agree with that. I mean, because we help them every year, as a non-departmental, around $8,000 a year for lots of years. I think the county helps them too, but I'm not sure about that. Commissioner Hoffman, you had a comment?
Yeah, first of all, I'm all in favor of doing a third on the building. But on the other hand, I think needs to be brought up that these partnerships seem to be going one way, and cities doesn't seem to be winning. And I take us back to the agreement, and if I misspeak, anybody can point it out, but in my mind, we had an agreement with the county to put brand-new bathrooms at the gym. And that was moving along fine. We were gonna do a partnership, 75,000 each side, county and city. And we had some rough drawings, we were moving right along, ready to start. And then we were told that the county had changed the commitment of their 75,000 to where they then put in for a grant. And if the grant is successful, we'll get our money and then we'll be building the bathrooms. So I just want to point it out that I'm all for helping the senior citizens building, but I'd also like to see the county revisit their commitment to the bathroom project and move forward on that as well. That's all I have.
I agree with, Commissioner Hoffman, we had things in place as far as building new bathrooms in Washington Gym, it fell through. And, it seems like as soon as we get started on something with them, it's always, put on hold. I think, we can get along a little better. I think we're trying to work toward that. And, I was really excited about those bathrooms, and I'm kind of upset about it, and, it was on my mind, but I think Mr. Hoffman beat me to it. So,
Well, I'm still real upset about it. I don't mind telling you.
I mean, we really need those bathrooms at Washington Gym, and it fell through, so I don't know what the reason was, but, I agree with Mr. Hoffman about that situation.
But I'm not indicating, and I'm not saying we'll hold the senior citizens building hostage till we get the bathrooms built. I'm not gonna be that way. I kinda wanna be, but I'm not. So I'm fine, and I'll support a third of the funding for the senior citizens building.
Okay, we'll need that form of motion, and, I think 17,000 was thrown around, so we do need to make sure we get that dollar amount in the minutes, and now, and I assume Jim will work with the senior citizens people and maybe make sure all our checks get turned in at the same time. We may even get a picture in the Star of us handing them to the senior citizen guy. It might be a good thing. Me and Sandy Quinn. So we'll make sure that their end is deals held up. So, and we're having a workshop with them on April 13th.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was one of the other items that was addressed on
And
there.
that will be here.
Here,
So anyway, we can hopefully have a good discussion at that time. So,
Mr. Mayor, can I add one other
Yes,
thing?
please.
I'd like to have either Jim or the attorney send an email to document the agreement, because we're dealing with a lot of issues currently that date back to meetings, a lot like this one, where nothing was followed up with a documented email or letter, and both parties acknowledge, yes, that's what we agreed to. So I want to make sure we start doing a better job of that.
Good point. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for $17,000 to help senior citizens repair their roof. Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, there's a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lowry. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0, passed. All right, Jim, we can pass that along to Mr. Farmer. You'll be a happy camper.
The next item we have, Mayor, is mobile home discussion. Mr. Joe Paul is here from the county, I believe, today, for that discussion here. What we have is a mobile home has been brought into a lot on Harbor Street. Harbor Street does allow for mobile homes, but this mobile home was actually brought in, did not go through the building department for a permit on there, and the checks and requirements from the land development regulations. The city land development regulations in the R1 district require all homes to be at least 1,200 square feet. I'll let Mr. Paul explain what we have here, but I believe this one is 700 some square feet. So it did not come through, it has not been permitted, so what happened was we got some calls from the neighbors. They contacted, so we contacted the building department, did a stop work order.
Okay, come up, Mr. Paul. Glad to hear from you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Mr. Anderson's correct. I represent the Hurricane Housing Recovery Program for Gulf County. We do have a client that qualified through the program. That's Janine Robin Malone at 105 Harbor Street. We did contract with a company, Timberline Construction Group, to provide mobile homes for these. He is correct, Timberline did bring the home and put it on the lot without pulling the permit. We have several communications with him asking him to pull the permit first. He did not. I can't say anything else other than he did not. There was a stop work order placed on the home by the building department because there was not proper permitting. Once we started looking at proper permitting, we found that your LDRs, which were changed, I believe, in 2018, require 1,200 square foot. This home is 704 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home. This is the most that we can put on a lot in this area because of the cost of the homes. Our budget is $45,000. This home cost us $43,680. That's delivered, set up, tied down, ready to go. We actually went out to bid for more mobile homes to see what we could find. That same mobile home price is now $53,000 because of the price of materials, which everybody's well aware of. What I'm here asking for is for consideration to allow this mobile home to be on the lot at 105 Harbor Street, pending the approval of the permit, which has to be, of course, done. I'm prepared, and I believe delivered to you the paperwork to go before the PDRB if necessary. And with that in mind, we have another applicant that has been qualified that mobile home has not been ordered for, and that is Miss Carolyn Bird, who is 120 Harbor Street, kind of each end of the street. The other thing that I want to tell you is in Miss Robin Malone's case, pending receipt of this home, and once the home hit the lot, she actually released from her rental agreement and is currently homeless unless something's done for her. I'm not doing that to try to pull on your heartstrings. I'm telling you the pure facts that I know and that what I would appreciate consideration for. I realize that once you do this, you may be opening Pandora's box. But my only concern is to try to get this home finished and another one on the lot for Miss Carolyn Bird. Providing homes for people that homes were either destroyed or damaged beyond repair during the hurricane.
Miss Malone owned that lot?
Yes,
Is that where her home was?
Yes.
Okay. And the same with Bird on the other end?
I'm not sure if Miss Bird didn't buy that lot after the hurricane. I'd have to look that up. I don't have her application with me.
I think she owned that property.
She owned it at the time?
So her home was there? She had a home on that place, okay, that's what I'm just asking. Okay, I'd like our attorney to respond to what you're asking for, because, you know, it's.
Yes, sir, I do. Well aware.
You know the hoops you got.
Yes, sir, I'm well aware.
Yeah,
I don't believe this particular issue should fall under a variance or special exception request. As you know, that would just go in front of the Planning and Development Board. It would never make it to here. They would have the decision to whether that would go or not go. Changing, you run, and you also run the risk. If you do a variance and allow to reduce the square footage from 1,200 square feet to 700 square feet at this place, you run the risk of people coming in from all over the town asking for that request. So if you did want to entertain this, I think the proper way to do it would be via ordinance, amending the land use regulations for that particular spot, for Harbor Street and the areas in Northport St. Joe that allow mobile homes. Just to do a special exception or variance request, I don't think that's the proper way to do this.
so you would also, Clint, the other part of the LDR or the front porch requirements and the other requirements we placed on other homes, we'd have to put that in that special class also,
Yeah, and that,
eliminating the need for that.
yeah, because if you, in that particular instance, if you do a special request, or if you allow them to change it for just those two spots,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be able to turn anybody else down that comes in.
Right. Unless you,
It'd be really hard.
unless you apply it to the applicants that we're talking about today based on the fact their house was destroyed after the hurricane. See, that's why I'm breaking away from your train of thought and thinking that we may not be opening Pandora's box if we move forward and agree to only places that meet specific requirements. One, that you own the property before the hurricane, which I'm hearing is correct, and two, that you lost your home from the hurricane. That's what the funding is for.
I think all indications are the property was owned, but did you physically live there before Hurricane Michael?
Yeah.
We did a water and sewer tap on that.
Yeah, we just did a new water and sewer tap over there.
Oh.
brand new water and sewer plant. Yeah.
105
The one we're talking about today, yes, sir.
Malone? Yes, that is a new one.
That's a new.
She had to purchase this lot in order to put the mobile home on it.
Yes.
Her house was destroyed.
If I may, Mr. Mayor? The reason she had to purchase that lot over there is because mobile homes were only allowed on Harbor Street and the one block of Avenue A are the only two things that you have. And we indicated to her that she needed to purchase a lot in that area in order for us to provide her a mobile home. We could not provide it at the address she was currently living at when the storm destroyed her.
But her home was destroyed.
Her home was destroyed, yes, and they're here to speak on their own behalf if necessary.
Okay.
Well, I have a question about the other side of this, Jim, when you said that it came to the city's attention based on calls from people opposing this. Have we received letters, or how many calls, did you receive in opposition to this idea?
It actually came to us from the building department. That'd be a question for Kelly and Eric at the building department. So they called us and asked if we could help put a stop work order, because they were getting calls on there, and then they looked at it and said they didn't have any permits. I'm not sure.
Because my train of thought is, I would want to know, was there a neighbor? We've discussed this before, and my stance has always been, and it was in the 2 mobile homes we approved, if we had a neighbor that said, no, I'm not going to permit or support a mobile home here in my community, because this was outside of Harbor Street where they are allowed. And it's still my train of thought. I'd like to have information on, are the neighbors up in arms about it, or are they fine with it? I can't imagine them being as upset as the other instances where this street currently has mobile homes. They're just bigger.
Yes, sir. Actually, we were involved in 2 double wides that have been on that street. But of course, they were over 1,200 square feet, but again, didn't know it at the time, and the permits were issued. And like I said, we just rocked on from there.
Can I say something, Mr. Mayor? Why don't we do this, since we say that the neighbors are concerned, let's, get a petition, and, let the neighbors in that area sign the petition, and, she bring it back, well, then we'll know if anybody disagrees or agrees with it. Can we do anything like that?
We could, well, I mean, we could, of course, I'm not sure what we can do today anyway, legally. And the point is, way before any of us got on board, a commission 20 years ago, whatever, made this area for mobile homes, and it was R1, and it complied with all the R1, and folks that built there were knowledgeable of that possibility. I'm not sure they were knowledgeable that you could put any size there, so there are 2 sides to what we're dealing with here. We got folks that have homes out there that have brick and mortar homes, and then there are some trailers, so there's a lot we need to talk about. But the other side of it, we need to get Ms. Malone in a home, so.
Exactly, I'm homeless.
Anyway, but Eric, I have no problem with that, or if you want, the staff to poll the neighborhood.
That'd be fine. I just like to know, who agrees with it and who really doesn't disagree with it, you know. I think it's important for her to get in a home, but I want to know what the neighbors think about it also.
We talked about transparency quite a bit. We'd like everybody to know what's going on before it happens, like this open up can of worms and it rolled in there. And so, anyway.
It's a 5-gallon drum full.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, I think Ms. Malone's here, any of her supporters, if they'd like to to, speak, we'd love to hear from them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul, I appreciate you coming.
Mayor, I've got one quick comment. while she's
Okay.
on the way out, and that is, if we're even considering the possibility of changing the LDR through ordinance to reduce the square footage of mobile homes, we're only talking about a handful of homes. I would rather have staff reach out to everyone that could be affected by this change. Whenever you go out and ask someone to bring you back a petition, it depends on how it was worded, you know, maybe
Yeah.
not all the facts are in it,
Sure.
so I would be more comfortable if we contacted that handful of people and told them what we were talking about doing and get a feel for it that way.
And they can make a list of who they talk to, and it's plus or minus. So, if everybody's okay with that,
I think
we'll
that's the only
do
direction
that.
we can do
We'll
right
do
now.
that. Ms. Malone, please come up.
While she's coming up, I'm gonna
All right,
comment.
go ahead.
Last meeting, we had one more individual, Ms. Williams, that also had already purchased her home, her house was destroyed too. This was last meeting.
Yeah, March 2nd.
So we're gonna have to look at that one as well.
And does that person want to put mobile home in a designated area or non-designated?
Non-designated.
Oh, okay, well, that's good.
Did I say something?
Absolutely.
I want to, ask Mr. Joe Paul, is this the only, thing that's on the table? Is there any other way that she can get, some help getting something else besides this, on her property?
That's right. That's it, right there.
My first problem, sir, is that I can't hear all the way back there, anything that's going on.
I repeat, is this the only thing that you have on the table for her? Is there any other thing that you can do to help her, maybe get, something else or, get something bigger or, help her, with this situation?
Based on her income level and qualifications through our HHRP program, no, sir. 45,000 is the maximum we can spend on a mobile home. The original proposal was for a one-bedroom mobile home. We actually were able to get these 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It's a small second bedroom, but it could serve as like if a grandchild came over or even as an office. And we managed to get these under the $45,000. 45,000 is her cap. And it's only for a mobile home.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Now, who's first? I think ladies first. Tam. So,
Actually, I was
you can
on,
take your mask down, we can hear a whole lot better, we're far enough away.
actually, I was aware that my trailer was coming, between January the 28th and the 1st of February. So I gave up my apartment for this trailer, so here I am homeless, living out of my car, different people's houses, trying to get in my trailer that's actually sitting there that I can't get. But, you know, I mean, that is trailer land, that's the road, that trailers go on, so I don't understand what's the problem, why I can't move my home.
Well, the ordinance that was made years ago just says it's gotta be a minimum of 1,200 square feet, and it's only 700, and so that's why our hands are kinda tied right now. We're trying to figure a way to make it work, so we just gonna take a little time. There's nothing we can do today, absolutely, just because you gotta jump through the proper hoops and legalities, and, you know, I'm sorry about that, but it just, the guy that, whoever you were dealing with to get the trailer didn't do what he was supposed to do, it never would have even gotten there. You'd have known that back in January, that he had to do these things, but unfortunately for you, you didn't get good advice. Yeah, so we're gonna try to work with everybody in that neighborhood.
No, I'm here to speak about the mobile homes, trailers, modular homes.
You can pull it down, Tam, we can hear you.
I'm here
better.
to speak about the mobile homes and trailers, where you want to call them places for somebody to live. Over on my area, town where I live in, that was deemed for mobile homes right there. When they put the church over there, we had to, sign to have it brought in. And that other house that was put over there, we had to work with them to get that in because it was deemed for mobile homes. So what I'm trying to say is, that street is deemed for mobile home.
Correct.
So, we had a hard time trying to get the apartments out there, so I know we might have people probably object to it, but most of those people doing the objecting got somewhere to rest their head. So, I would love for y'all, if y'all could, work with it to help us get in there. My biggest thing is, Mr. Rex, I come up here a while back and I was speaking about when we was tearing down the trailers, and I said about working with the county and talking with the county. And you told me, Tan, go out there and you can work with the county if you can talk to them. This back to that same thing, we ain't communicating with each other.
But it really had nothing to do with the county.
It's got to do, it's communication, because if the county knew that they couldn't put something in, that if the city knew the county was bringing this in, maybe we could have had this off before it. Because, when you got people lingering out here, I ain't got nowhere to stay, going from place to place. The house that she was in on Garrison got messed up in the hurricane. She moved in the apartment. Now she hoping to get in there. She done moved out the apartment. That's stress on people.
Yeah, it is.
So what we're asking, and I understand everything come in due time, but if we can, we need to try to push this a little hard, try to help them get on in there. And I have no problem with a mobile home. I mean, I've been living in one ever since 1990. I done bought 3 kids in one, I done paid for houses, paid for a house in one, I done bought a car in one, I go to church in one. What I'm trying to tell you, everything you do in your house, I do in my mobile home. I don't see nothing wrong with it. Mobile home just like a house. If your house go to falling apart and you don't fix it, it look regular. If your mobile home go to falling apart, you don't fix it, it look regular. You just take care of it. And if Hurricane Michael come through here again, ain't nothing we can do really about it anyway. We get out the way and put it back in here when he leaves. So I support anybody who want to put a mobile home over there, because if you want to live in a gated community, find a gated community. This is the city of St. Joe. We got people who got property that's been in their family for years and years. They don't want to sell their property, and they're doing the best they can do with it. And I really feel like if people in the neighborhood says, all right, hey, let's do what we can do to get these people in their homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Come on.
Chester Davis, PAC President, Pastor, Philadelphia Community Baptist Church. The reason I come up here is based upon, I want to follow up on what Commissioner Langston just said. We have a bad issue with opposing or standing up for what the law has already told. And how we stand that, if when it comes back to the people, is it their decision or is it the commission or board decision in order to make these things either happen or how we bring relief to other folks. The question he asked was, is there anything else could be done? We know that the county had received some funds for this district. And what we was questioning, how can that county funds reach out to these people that want trailers? And instead of having a trailer, have a modular home. So we were opposed, some of us were opposed to putting trailers in certain areas in order to actually convince the county to give up some of that money in order to what? Make a modular home rather than a trailer. And we're hoping that the city would kind of imply that to the county in order that we can do that. I realize the county and the city seem like they are not connecting right, but if the county has funds that's been dedicated to this district, Ward 4, however you want to call it, why can't they be a help to these people that's trying to get a trailer to go in an area where a trailer is not warranted by code? And so I think it'll be important if we can reach out to them and actually have them to assist in that area. That would be the conversation for anybody that wants a trailer. This young lady has a trailer that's too small for the area. So, you know, if the county has funds that we can reach out to and, hey, what's $20,000, $30,000 out of a million that we can't support these people with trailers to make them modular homes or whatever it takes for that code? I think that's our biggest problem. If we have funds that say it's allocated for this community, why can't we get it? And actually, I want to go back to what he said. Is there anything else can be done to address these issues? Because I want to see the law upheld, but at the same time, I agree with people needing a place to stay. But how can we do it, especially if we can't address the way the funds are and have it apply to these situations? So I thank you for the question, but we need to, you know, see if we can get the county to get involved, coming off some of that money in order to give these people a proper place to stay.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sign in, please, statement, state your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Bird. I was living at 120 Harvard Street. I'm here on my behalf. I don't have nowhere to stay. I'm homeless. And I appreciate everything y'all will do to help us to get a home. Not only for me, for others that don't have a home. We need houses. We don't have houses over there fit to live in. And I ask y'all to help us any way you can. And I appreciate it, and I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Linda Willis, and I live on the north side. I just need some clarity. Okay? I just learned, you know, because I'm new, well, I'm not new, I've been here for a while, but I'm learning Port St. Joe. But I'm understanding now that there's a section that's for trailers, whereas I thought that the city are not allowed to have trailers. Okay, so this stems from the past, right?
Yeah.
However, and you're specific on the measurement, right?
Yeah.
And I'm understanding that you just can't break it down for a smaller unit so far.
Not
since our
overnight.
house.
I mean, not
Right,
without
exactly, and the
changing.
amendments and laws have to be changed, correct? We
Correct.
gotta make amendments, okay? So we have to do that. And otherwise, you're gonna have people coming here and making a whole lot of tiny homes where it's not supposed to be.
Correct.
Now, as for her trailer or so forth, what kind of zone is it? I mean, is it a D or class it is?
Yes, it's
Okay.
R1 residential, so that means one minimum 1,200 square foot home on that parcel,
Okay.
or
And it's
any
a
parcel in that area.
class D, is it supposed to be?
I'm not sure,
trailer
you're talking
Like,
about,
tra-
that's
oh,
a
we
red
have-
zone.
I'm talking about trailer, yeah.
Has to be a zone 3.
It has to be a zone 3. Okay, so it is zone 3?
It does have to meet the requirements of the state of Florida.
It is zone 3, it is rated for 150 miles an hour when it's not.
Okay, okay. Now, my other concern is, question brought about the neighbors. The value of other homes, once when trailers are there. You know, because trailers do kind of tend to have a tendency to devalue other people's property.
That's correct.
So I really think we're gonna have to look into it. I know people need homes and yes, rightly, everybody should have a home and be safe, but then also you have other neighbors too and the value of their homes. So just to up and just change and make certain things, we have to be careful.
That's why, you know, we're in a pickle, somewhat
Yes,
of a
we are.
pickle.
Yeah, so I just wanna make sure that if there are trailers,
Is it gonna be all over the place, or is it gonna just be in a certain area?
It's
Okay.
just that area on Harbor Street was
Is that-
designated years ago to allow mobile homes.
And then
Period.
make sure that it's safe for them to live there as
That is definitely.
And the 300 block of Avenue Lane.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
And the 300 block of Avenue Lane.
well. Oh, really? Okay. Well, thank you, I'm clear.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, thank you.
You guys have a good day.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
We talked about there was a change in the, LDR in 2018. Is that correct?
It was 2008, I believe is what Mr. Poe referred to.
Oh, okay, so
I
I
think it was
misheard.
2008.
So in '08 is when it
The
went,
current LDR was adopted in 2008.
'08.
Yes, sir, that was adopted. The only change that's been made to the mobile home section was approximately about a year ago, we had someone come before us that needed one on Avenue A, a home that was destroyed, so the board expanded that area from road frontage on Harbor Street to include the 300 block of Avenue A.
Okay, okay. Yes, I do know where that house is at because it's right next to my mother-in-law's house.
Okay.
Betsy Willis. Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you so very much.
Eddie Fields, Port St. Joe, 105 Battle Street. The reason I came up, I was listening to the young lady. I've worked part-time, Mr. Joe Paul, with the ship. I've worked with long-term recovery after the hurricane. I'm still working with Christian Community Development Fund as the needs assessor. I follow up with find out people's need. What do they need? She has a need. Working with long-term recovery, we ran into this problem all the time. The bigger problem is where they didn't get permit for the trailer. That's not her fault. So she's out there basically hanging. Everyone has to stop and think and make a decision while she's still out there hanging, living in a car wherever she can, while a decision is being made. I used to run across those problems all the time. The hurricane, she didn't bring the hurricane left many of people out there hanging, and they still are hanging. She's still one of them. Now, like Commissioner Langston brought, the thing I thought about as everyone was talking, what can be done? Something need to be done. Me, my thinking is with the gentleman not getting the permit, by him creating that problem, the county don't have enough money to get a modular home. Seem like, I'm sure he's gonna be fined or something, maybe that's enough money to get her a small modular home. Now me, my opinion, I've never liked the trailers because I've seen what happened. I'd rather see a small modular home with 2 bedrooms than a trailer. Because we was trying to get trailers from different people while we were doing the long-term recovery. That wasn't working at all. Modular home is sturdier, and like Mr. Joe said, the wind codes, you gotta check all of that before you even get started. That's why I didn't understand, how did he pull that off without getting a permit? And the trailer sitting there, and she's still out the door. None of this makes sense to me when I'm sitting there saying, people are in a need. I'm a needs assessment officer for the CCD. I hear the needs all the time. They're out there, and I'm sitting there listening. Her need, this young lady has a great need. She's homeless. Okay, what if she was a veteran? Or what if she's a mom with children or taking care of grandchildren and everybody's out the door while this young man made a I wouldn't even call it a mistake of putting that trailer there without getting a permit. I went through the process of getting permits. Oh yeah, you go through a process getting those permits. That's why he shouldn't float like that, I would say. He should be fined at least enough money to help put her in a home.
I agree.
Well, and like I told her earlier, Eddie, it's not her fault at all. she should still be in her rental because the trailer is having to jump through the hoops to get on the property. That didn't happen. And now, everybody here is in a conundrum about what are we gonna do to get her in the home. So we understand that, we just gotta figure it out.
Well,
We hear everything, we know.
I'm gonna be honest, I just came up here to help put some emphasis on it.
Yeah.
Because you see how many people came, I didn't wanna get up, normally when someone is getting up, I'm not gonna get up and repeat myself, I don't wanna do that. But when I see someone that needs somewhere to live, like I say, just working through that this last year, I wanted to put some emphasis on it, and like you said, we're in a pickle.
Yeah.
She's in worse than a pickle.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Come right up, sir.
It's a different topic. Is now the time?
Oh, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet, just stand by. Want to make sure everybody's here to speak on the mobile home issue. Has anybody else would like to speak on this issue? Would you like to come up and speak on the mobile home issue? Yeah, please come up. Sign in and state your name, please, ma'am.
May Williams. Good Connie Gainer.
Okay,
I was here the last board meeting
yes, ma'am.
about the zoning for my trailer,
Uh-huh.
the letters, Commissioner likes to have them.
Can't hear.
I gave them
Yeah, just speak up just a little bit. And you were at the last meeting wanting to put a trailer on an area that's not authorized for trailers. Am I hearing that right, guys?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. So, go ahead.
I got all the letters that y'all asked me to get for my neighbors, behind me, in front of me, on the side of the east side. So have y'all decided what y'all gonna do?
Yeah,
Or
that's where we open,
That's where we kind of left.
we open up a can of worms there.
Well, we've done it in the past. That was the problem.
We are gonna have to make a decision.
Okay. I was not here at the last meeting, so I'm hearing what they're saying, so I would assume, you need to turn those letters into our clerk, Ms. Pierce, you got them?
Commissioner Langston brought them to me
Okay,
earlier.
okay. And what was the consensus of the letters?
It's just people who supported it, but
We've since received an email too, Mayor, in opposition.
yes, we have some here that were turned in by Commissioner Langston to me, supporting her.
So some, those letters in support and others have been against? Is
I
that
think
what I'm
Mr. Anderson received an email.
Yes, I did send you a forward. I got an email yesterday, from some neighbors that were opposed to it, so I did forward that to you yesterday.
Okay, when I get back on my email, I'll read it. But I'm having to change my password about weekly on the thing, so I didn't get it. So what's the pleasure of the board, because I wasn't here?
Well, I've always been, supportive of people, that need somewhere to stay. We got to get them somewhere to stay. She had, letters with all the neighbors. I never heard anything about a letter of opposition.
If you've got a copy of those letters.
Yes, sir, I just was given a copy if you want.
Okay.
The letter actually speaks more than just opposition to this particular mobile home in an unauthorized area. It goes on to explain that the letter writer feels that the decision-making process, which we're kind of went down that road where we tell the landowner, you go and find out if there's support or is there someone opposed to it, puts the burden of the decision-making process on the neighbors who are, in this folder over here. And it speaks about some people are just not gonna oppose it because they want to be good neighbors. And the letter writer's asking that the commission do their job in making that decision and not put that burden on the citizens.
I'm familiar with that letter, I'm sorry, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, very familiar with that.
Mr. Mayor, my mom is now paying your interest on this loan, but this loan just passed. We don't know how this mistake came about, but she is paying the interest. We have went and talked with several people, and even, Danny Golden, I understand that he is opposed it. But he also mentioned to us about how they come out getting the ship to step in and help them. But first of all, she has to qualify for ship.
Right.
What if she don't qualify for ship? And then she's at an income level with her home, the mortgage payment she will have that she can't afford. If you go up $80,000 more, which that's what they told her, it's gonna be to change that to, for her to get a modular home, then her mortgage payment gonna go up.
You already purchased the home, right? And have owned it for how long?
It has not been delivered. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, we do have the regulation, I know we changed, we changed one on Avenue A. I will say, I've thought long and hard about that. It's water under the dam, but I think it's more, in my case, a knee-jerk reaction to somebody in need, at that time. And, so, I'm not saying that was the right thing to do, but it's all done, and that's the way it is. But I'd love to see us try to stick with the area, but I understand you don't have property on the Harbor Street area, so you can't deliver it there.
The problem is that storm, Mayor. I mean, we were making exceptions. We did have, strong feelings about everybody needs to get back into their homes. If we did our jobs, we would make no exceptions, But in my opinion, if the neighbors waive the right for us to protect their property values, which is why we're sitting here, then that's up to the neighbors. That is up, we can make that decision to make that happen. But then how do you define a neighbor? Is somebody that lives 6 doors down? Are we gonna listen to what they say as much as someone that lives right next door? That's where I'm having trouble with is, we do have some people in opposition, but they're not right next door. They're down the road. And so that's where it gets really difficult. I wanna help people out, but at the same time, I've got 3,500 citizens to protect at the same time. So this is where my head's been going for the last 3 weeks.
It's not about one person.
It isn't.
And as opposed to Northport St. Joe, I have spoken with several property appraisals. And if you put your mobile home there and a modular home, fix them up how they're supposed to be, can you really tell the difference from the outside of the road?
I personally cannot. I don't have a problem with either, but I do understand that human nature is to consider a mobile home less valued than a modular.
And he said it would be different if the mobile home was going probably in, Windmark, Cape San Blas.
I've always thought that, we've been tearing down houses, for the longest, and, we're talking about depreciating value, let's look around, I mean, people need a place to stay. If I just can't see not putting something together where a person, yeah, we're commissioners and we have a job to do, but I also have a heart. And a lot of times, it may get me in trouble, but most of the time it doesn't. And I make a lot of decisions, not on my heart, not with my heart, but this, when you're talking about somebody needing somewhere to stay, it really affects me, in a different way. So I'm I support, putting this trailer. Yeah, we opened up a can of worms when we did it for, on Avenue A. And I hate that the decision was made then, but also we had to look at why we made that decision. It was because of how we felt. I mean, Hurricane Michael just came and the person had nowhere to stay. So what do we do? You know? But that's how I feel about the situation. So, but I'm just one person, and that's my opinion.
Okay. Just a couple comments. I voted no, the time we voted to put the trailer there on Livers Avenue A. And just because I knew it would open up a can of worms. And now that we've done it, and you see these people that are in a bind, I'm gonna have to support it, this go around. It's just figuring out a way to do it, just like the other two wetlands that we're looking at right now.
Can I say something else?
Yes, please.
Now, when we're talking about neighbors, how far out are we gonna go? I mean, is it just that block, Battle to, MLK, back around? Or is it just that front street from Battle to, MLK?
What,
Miss Sally, you got Miss Sally Jenkins, on that road, you know, that front road right there. Donnell Pippin stays across the street. If they, those signatures, I'm sure they have those signatures, but, how far do we go as far as, extending it, saying neighbors?
I would be comfortable with the block that the property sits on. I consider my neighbors, the ones that live on the block of Marvin, that I'm on. So is anyone on the block that you are wanting to put the mobile home shown any opposition to? Have you had the opportunity to actually get a response from all of those neighbors?
And those were the letters we asked you to bring back today, right?
Well, then I thought it'd be easier. I told you if any of the neighbors opposed, I would be a no vote. But if what I'm hearing is correct, and all of those neighbors, in the way I define neighbors in the one block area, are in support of it, then I'm going to support the ask.
Mayor, it sounds like we're all gonna lead with our hearts today. And so the question is, how do we do this? In the instance of Avenue A, we had to incorporate the 300 block. Are we discussing now incorporating that onto Avenue G on her block? And then if we're gonna do that, how do we handle the other instance? Are we gonna go with an ordinance to change the minimum square footage of trailers on Harbor down to 750? That's a lot of.
There's two different things, but yeah, we're gonna have to make those two decisions separately, but they've got to be made. Anyway, so what, specific area are we talking about, Mr. Anderson?
Y'all are in the, what's?
200 block.
Y'all in the 300 block?
200.
Okay, so what we did before, Mayor, was we brought it to you before and you decided to go with the 300 block of Avenue Way. So you created an ordinance that allowed for trailers to be in the 300 block of Avenue Way. It sounds like if the board's willing, what you could do is you could amend your ordinance that's currently in place in there by ordinance to say that the Harbor Street frontage, Avenue A, and now the 200 block of Avenue E would allow for mobile homes and have the square footage minimum at 700 square feet, if that's the wish of the board. You probably could encompass that all under one ordinance in there. You define which areas are allowed for mobile homes and the square foot minimum in there. A couple of things to think about too, the time you're going, the flood zone at all. Have you checked that?
Now, everybody house get to it around there.
Double check that because it requires some additional stuff on that. And.
Well, we said we would meet all requirements.
Do you know how many square feet the home is in? Okay, so it's above that threshold.
Yeah.
But that's the things the board's gotta consider on there. You could send it back to planning board for a special exception, but then that means a lot of other folks may or may not come before the board for a special exception. Or the other avenue would be to do like you did with Avenue A and designate a specific area which would expand your two current areas you have right now. By ordinance.
Okay, that sounds like the easiest way. I think it's the best way to go.
And I'm looking to allow trailers, guys, without offering up more land to put trailers on. We're gonna be faced with this decision more times than not. Which is why I got attacked by bringing up the idea of putting trailers behind 10th Street. But I still think that's a viable option for that piece of land at some point.
Well, the reason I came back up because we have 150 vacant lots in Northwest St. John. And the reason I was against it because I was trying to help force the county to help her get a modular home.
Correct.
That was what I was
I
a whole goal.
understand that, yeah.
We called the county.
Yeah.
And asked them would they, help her get a modular home for that street. So that's what our opposition was about, trying to help her get a modular home.
I understand.
And so we put our name on there in opposition of that, because we have 150 lots in Northport St. Joe. So, I think we opened up for 150 lots to start putting trailers on there. And that's what we're going to end up having to do. But like I say, it was all to really help her get a modular home, not to come against her to not to have a place to stay. We was hoping that by going to the county and pushing that issue to him, that they would come up with funds that would help her get a modular home, or pay the difference from the trailer to a modular home. That was our goal from the get-go.
And what did the county tell you?
Well, I don't want to repeat it as said, but I got the word that we don't want to tell a lie. And I couldn't understand what the lie could be
She
told.
has to qualify,
Right.
so they gonna have to lie.
Anybody got a call?
Well, Chester, I don't want you to hear me
They
They get
wrong.
all of it.
I understand there's 150 lots, but there's not 150 lots of homes that were destroyed by the hurricane who currently have their owners homeless. And I think
But
that,
now, you're not going through the SHIP program, are you?
No.
Okay, this is a whole individual, different scenario. I got you. Okay,
Well, like I
let's
said,
move on.
we was again basing upon what was allocated to the community.
All right,
And we called out to the commissions about trying to help this young lady in a different way.
sure.
Because we would love, as was stated earlier, how important it was to have a modular home rather than a trailer.
I agree. Now, we're gonna move on, we're getting ready to entertain a motion and take a vote, but, I am, lost train of thought.
We just need
All
y'all
right,
support.
Jim wants to, suggested a way to help everybody that's come before us today. And that is, in that ordinance, if we change the ordinance, I think it needs to be that the person owns the property and has homesteaded that property. We don't want folks renting out trailers from people. We want, somebody's gotta own that property where they live, and that's important.
you can't rent in an R1 anyway, can you, Mayor?
I don't know.
Not short term anyway.
Is this,
Long term.
is this R1 residential, all these areas we're talking about, Jim?
I have to go back and look at the timing of your mom's property. there.
Because we've got to change it so it's very specific. So any R1 not gonna be able to put a 700 square foot house on it. So it's gotta be a whole different,
Gotta go towards that
That specific spot is what you're.
that is correct.
Because right now, I think you're looking at Harbor Street frontage, you're looking at the 300 block of Avenue A potentially, and the 200 block of Avenue M.
Are you required to encompass an area as large as what you're discussing currently? Why not just make the exception and the rule change for that particular address?
I think the difference is, Commissioner, if you just do it as a special exception, you're gonna have a lot more that are gonna come straight to the planning board and you'll never see. Special exceptions,
cut out of it.
you'll be cut completely out. The way special exceptions are set up, and right now, The only thing really going for special exceptions is setbacks. But this is actually a big change to your land development regulations, usually done by ordinance on there.
So we can't make an ordinance that's specific to one location?
Could,
That
or could.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why expand the block?
It's up to you.
I didn't like the way that was done when we did it on the 300 block of Avenue A, but I voted against the whole thing, so I didn't get involved.
Just be thinking ahead, what are you gonna do when the next person comes? Are you gonna go ahead and amend that ordinance for the next one, or are you gonna go ahead and try to figure out how big of a need is there in Port St. John?
I just think we should be more focused on individual issues, individual lots. Right now, we're talking about 3 individual lots, 2 with a smaller trailer and 1 that has going to a place that's not permitted currently. But I would feel more comfortable with making the change for those 3 individual lots. That way you don't have as much of a negative impact or the possibility of a negative impact of a whole block. Because if we move forward the way we're talking currently, then someone adjacent or across from you could very well put a mobile home in. But not if we narrow the scope of the decision to where it's lot specific.
Okay, everybody okay with that? Particular thing, Mr. Attorney, you understand what he's trying?
Yeah, I get, there's one thing I wanted to mention with regards to what you mentioned earlier about the homestead.
Right.
We could easily put it in there where they're required to have that property be homesteaded when the mobile home is placed there. But there's nothing we can do to stop them from selling that place the next year and renting it to anybody they want on a third basis. We would not be able to stop that.
Right. Thank you, we're working on it, Joe.
Well,
Oh, you wanna make?
I have a statement.
Okay.
When they get the trailers from us, they are required to not only homestead, but they're required to stay there 5 years. They will not get their titles until they are resident for 5 years.
Okay, great.
Not this situation.
Well, no, not in this situation, that's correct. So that's just something we have to deal with. Yeah. I'm afraid.
Is there any way to record a deed restriction? If we do this?
I think there could be a way, I'd have to look into that, but I think, yeah, there probably could be a way if they agreed to write that into.
Then when they go to sell it, that restriction would still be in place?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'd like to double check that, but I believe that's possible. Yes.
All right, here's the deal. Number one, the attorney's gotta write up
I just need
something.
general marching.
Yeah,
Gets me
you've heard, I think you got enough.
I think I got
enough
the gist.
to come up with something. Our next meeting is April 6th. That's a good long time to have these folks out of their home.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, it's gonna be longer than
A
that.
lot longer than that.
It would be a lot longer than that, because you have, with an ordinance that's dealing with land development regulations, generally they go to planning board first, and then it's gotta have a first and a second reading at the commission. So we're talking a 45 to 60 day
It's gonna be a
period.
while.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. That's all we can do. So we couldn't speed it up by you writing something up. We have a special call meeting, sometime this month, have first reading on April 6th, second reading on April 20th. I think we can do that.
What about your advertising?
You gotta advertise it in the newspaper and post
It's
it
gotta go through in front of the zoning board too.
So it's gotta go for a PDRB.
And it's got to advertise in the paper for so many days.
10 days before adoption.
So, you hear that? That's just the best we can do to help people out. So you got an idea?
I got an idea and I'd get right on it.
Get right on it, get it done as soon as we can, and folks will work through it. It's gotta have first reading, second reading, and maybe folks may pile in here in opposition to it, I don't know, but that's just the only thing we can do. That's
When
sound
you
like.
say folks, May, you talking about neighbors or the community of North Port St. Joe?
Anybody, could be somebody from Cape San Blas, who knows, it's just the way, that's just the way it is, but, I doubt that'll happen, but anyway, yeah. So, okay, everybody good with that? Okay, thank you, ladies, we're gonna work with you. Yeah, we're gonna work with you, all right, okay. You wanna speak on an agenda item, sir, or just general? General comment? Okay, I'm on this gentleman, been waiting long enough. I'm gonna let him come forward, speak before we go on to the rest of the agenda items. So please come forward, sign in, and, please state your name and your address.
I'm Roy Broughton. This is my neighbor, Bill Morrison. We are both fixing houses that were damaged by Michael. Mine's on DuPont, his is on St. Joseph. And we had a problem, maybe still do have a problem with standing water after a big rain event.
Yeah, I think, were you guys here last
We
meeting?
were.
I thought I remember hearing that.
We want to thank the commissioners and
Mr. Grantland's over here
Mr.
behind
Anderson, city manager, for within a couple of days of our being here, he's had somebody out. I think he was out himself looking at the problem, and within another couple of days, he had the city crew out working on it. Like I say, I don't know that we fixed it, but we appreciate the effort.
Mr. Grantland, I saw him talking to you guys one day, and I was not at that meeting, but I remember listening to your comments via Zoom best I could, but, they're good, we got a good staff.
It was outstanding.
Yeah.
And not only did they address our issue in that, but the communication between the workers and us and what they were doing, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just outstanding.
We have a great staff, we thank y'all for recognizing that.
But on the other side, I have one other question.
Sure.
Of course, on that. In my reconstruction of the backyard and that, I had a sewer pipe that was crushed, and I had it scoped and rebuilt and that. But in the past 6 months, I've had 2 sewer backups.
Right.
And I'm putting in a backup valve in the yard in order to stop it backing up like that. And I was just wondering if it would be possible for the city to see where I believe it's happening outside mine because it's on the other side of the fence where the backup. And as a matter of fact, on Saturday night, I had a sewer backup at 5:30 in the evening, and I called the water number, and I got the recording to call the police. I called the police, the administration. Within 20 minutes, you had somebody on my premise. Within 30 minutes, they were on my premise with the power hose, and they fixed it. They blew it out. But it's happened twice now in the last 6 months, so I'm just wondering if maybe it might be something to take a look at, that there is a blockage at the connection to the.
I see John taking notes over there, so he'll get on it.
Right, but thank you again. It is really a pleasure working with you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
And I was thinking John was short-staffed.
Okay, all right. Commission meeting time, Commissioner Langston.
Well, I've been getting several phone calls on us to, talk about changing the time back to 5 o'clock where some people working and they can get to the meetings. I said I would put it on the agenda and we have a discussion about it. I think it's been a year since we had the last discussion. I was one of the ones that, recommended, needed it to be changed. If the commission, wants to change it back to 5, I have no problem with it. It's part of my job. Whatever I have to do, I'll do it. I like the 12 o'clock meetings. 5 o'clock meetings are fine. It's just, when it carries over to 7 or 8 o'clock, it's just hard getting home certain times of night. And I think it's hard for staff too, when they get off work, have to come to a meeting. So I just wanted to put it out there and see what the commissioners felt about it.
I'll say this, of course, course, when I ran, for mayor, one of my things were, have to stay with the 6 o'clock meetings, and then you guys were nice enough to appease me and say, we'll alternate them and, see how it goes and watch the attendance. I'll be first to say that the attendance is about the same, no matter what time we met. It's better for staff to, of course, can be meeting at 12 o'clock. We don't have to pay overtime for 4 or 5 guys to stay till 8 o'clock at night, and they get off at 3. So, Commissioner Langston, I guess I've come full circle. 12 o'clock meetings are fine with me.
I ditto that, Mayor.
So,
I agree, and I know staff fully agrees as well.
yeah.
I said all along that I would support whatever time frame brought the most attendance from the public. I think we should be encouraging the public to attend, but I can honestly say, in my opinion, there is no change in the attendance from 12 to 5 or 6, and I haven't had a single person say, well, I just cannot make it at 12, but I could make it later in the day. So the fact that it is a huge benefit to the employees of the city, I would support staying at 12.
And the other thing is, if you do work during the day and you do get a lunch, we're holding it during your lunch hour. So it gives even the daytime people an opportunity to come out as well.
Mr. Langston, you brought it to us, and you people wanted you to bring it to us, but it doesn't sound like, there's gonna be a majority to change it.
That's it, I understand.
Okay. All right, you okay with that then? Yes, sir. Okay. All righty. All right, nothing else under new business, go straight to public works.
Mayor, just one thing real quick, you go ahead, John. Reminder of the joint meeting on the 13th at 4 o'clock at the Ward Bridge building here. Joint meeting.
April 13th, correct, yeah. Everybody got that down, and I know Ms. Sharp will remind us.
So everybody, staffs, attorneys, everybody, not just the commissioner and the mayor and.
I would say staff's not necessary to come, but you being our attorney, I think you probably need to be here, because I'm sure they're gonna have theirs.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items on the agenda today. Last meeting, we discussed the RFP 2021-02 for the tennis court lighting. We had received the submittals, what we were waiting on. Reviewed those and approved. So for your consideration today, if you want to move forward on that project, the recommendation is a low bid of PGN of $18,032.72.
That's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, it was.
It really was a pleasant surprise to me, and, if they're all bidding on the same apples, then I think we need to go with it. I think it'd be a nice addition. I think a lot of people will take advantage of it. Yeah, I'll, need a motion to accept low bidder BGN contract.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, second by Commissioner Langston. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0.
Issue a notice of award to those guys.
Okay, good.
Second item, requested bid and additional building at Public Works. This was a budgeted item from last year, so all I'm asking for now is permission to bid, get those back, and let you guys make a decision.
What's the budget?
200,000.
200? Okay. Need a motion to request a bid on the budgetary item. Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, second. Second by Commissioner Lowry. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0. Let's get going.
The last item I had on the agenda was a quote. This is relevant to the FEMA issues that Mike's currently dealing with, but we elected not to put the bridge back on the 20th Street side of Buck Griffin Lake.
Correct.
So this would actually be to pour that concrete sidewalk on the east side. So it connects 220th, and then we'll go ahead and put a pedestrian crossing around, so it just creates that moving completion.
Stripe the area where it crosses.
That's correct. And the existing sidewalks will demo ourselves.
Right. I think that's, be under bid threshold, I assume.
There should be 2 quotes.
Not
this year. I don't think I got the offer. We get one?
No, they were under the bid threshold.
Oh, they were? Okay.
My recommendation would be R&H.
Go for it. Yeah. Got it.
And the last time I had, I guess really just an update, we began work on the boat ramp today. We have our boarding crew scheduled for Thursday. I've spoken to Dwayne Butler at Duke. Their intentions are trying to get their crews out first of next week to install transformers and lighting. And we'll fall back, get the pay box set, all of our electrical ends, and that project will be
So hopefully before summer, we'll have all that done.
hopefully within 2 weeks.
Yeah, that'd be great. And, Mike and Jim and Charlotte, while we're on there, sticker, everybody knows about stickers for the vehicles for launching. Everybody, we've told them enough that they should know they gotta have a sticker, they're gonna get fined, what was it, $150, wasn't it? Up to $150. Okay,
Flat $150.
flat,
There is no,
no exceptions.
it just says $150. It
Okay.
doesn't say up to or anything.
All right, well, any questions for John?
I have one.
Sure.
And Jim as well. Whose responsibility is it to keep up and maintain the building permit department, which I know is part of your operation of
Public, yeah,
building?
the public works building itself falls under our, maintenance, if you will. We're required by, I think, contract just to provide space for EPCI,
Yeah.
space only.
And the reason that I bring it up is I know that the employees were doing some work down there because it's really in bad shape. I don't know how old some of the things in that
Yeah,
building
they asked
are.
to paint, they asked to
Yeah,
paint the
they
office.
started painting it, and the question came up is, should they be spending that money, through the contract company that we have the agreement with and painting, or would that fall under the burden of the
Well, I
city?
advised them that we would purchase the paint.
Okay, well, I didn't even know that, but I think that it's time to look at that area. Your office, Bonnie's office, the office that they lease, I think we need to go out and have a plan. It may not be this year, but I'd like to see some figures on improving that area. Making some updates.
Absolutely.
Cleaning out there's some books and maps there that go back probably to the 40s, right there behind where the ladies work, and I think it's a dusty environment. It's probably got issues with roofs that have leaked years ago. So I just want us to spend some time and.
So we can sort of discuss that in the budgetary process.
Yeah.
And not only that, that's just another reason that we may look at building a new city complex. And the building department will be housed in that. We can fix public works up where it is nicely.
We're kind of roughnecks out there. We walk through a lot of
I
stuff.
know
A lot of
you
stuff
do.
you don't want to come in after.
Yeah, there's an old service station building sitting there that Jimmy
Yes,
Griffin, and it's been,
Well, if we're successful in the new building, all that will be demoed and destroyed.
no service station. How about that? Okay, all right.
So you're gonna take care of paying them back for the paint or whatever?
If they bought it, which I was not aware of, I'd advised them when they asked if they could paint. I said, sure, we'll purchase the paint, because
Yeah.
originally they wanted labor to paint. I said, no, if you want to paint, paint.
Yeah. All right, but anyways, I know that's kind of long range, but it came to my mind, when I walked in the building and saw what was going on.
Well, again, we track a lot of stuff for them.
Yeah, thanks, that's all I have.
All right, surface water, Mr. Larry got a good report for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, on page 129 of your agenda, we have last year's water quality report for your review. And I think it's worth noting of the 19 contaminants we tested, none were above the EPA limit, and there were no violations in 2020.
Y'all do a great job there.
And one other thing I got for the board, the green sand filter test, we're still in that, and it's going to be a 90-day test, so it's going to be May when it ends, but I'd like to have Florida Rural Water come in here afterwards and give a presentation to you.
That'd be great. Yes, sir. Yep, great.
And that's all I have.
Everything? Anything else, guys? Thank you, sir. Right, wastewater.
Couple things. One's just a quick update. We got right at 2 foot on the fall. We still don't have parts in. They hit Texas last week, so I guess they were, I don't know if they come out of Texas. They're still in customs at Texas, or if they made the trip from there to Georgia, where they get stationed before they come to us, but we don't have them yet. We were told we would have them this week. So our plants are shut down. We'll work through the weekend, and then next week we'll shut down the disfiltration, so we'll put out water while we're fixing, as long as they have parts, and we'll get back up to normal stuff. We're looking good as far as, putting water out. It's working out well. Water clarity's good. So all that stuff's working like it should. So where we're having trouble is on the field. We've got some spots that have sort of caved in. I think when they were building the field, they probably buried some of the tree heads and that kind of stuff. So it's sinking, and part of our permit says we can't let go of the pond. So we have our biggest zone that we can't use. So what I'm asking is if I can go out for bid and put sand on that field. We're gonna need about 200 loads of sand. DEP, I thought was gonna have to do this certified sand, which is expensive. What I got back from DEP said it has to be clean sand, no spoils and no clay. And that's all that's all they've got as far as permitting for us. It's all about percolation. So the water, go through the sand. So I'd like to go out for bid and see what we can get for sand out on the field, so we can go back to using all 5 of our zones instead of 4, that's what we're doing now. So that's what our bottleneck is right now. Even if we worked 24 hours for a while, but we still couldn't touch 5. So, when we get all our parts back in, we should be able to go back to pushing it during the week like we would normally do. If we have 5, then we can actually drop the pond. Right now, it takes a long time to get a 1/4 inch off the pond. So that's my ask for you guys is, can I go out for bids? Get sand, it's in the budget. I've got a general idea about how much we want to spend, but I don't want to hedge my bets until I get sealed bids in.
I don't have a problem, go for it. Doesn't cost anything to ask.
Okay. So we'll do that. I've already written everything else. We're trying to get the paper this week. That way we can start, see what we get and work on our little field out there.
Okay.
So outside of that, it's a steady. We busted out the old building that was the 240-foot long building that was running next to the ditch. It was just too short to do anything with. When we started tearing the roof and stuff off of it, the poles come down with it. So it was time. So all that's in demolition. It's all piled up now. We're picking the scrap metal out of it. Scrap metal guys getting that. And then the next phase of that will be to get that hauled off, which is not going to be cheap. I'm thinking, that's going to be part of the process. But it's got the old labs down, the old mechanic shops down, and the old storage barn. It's all down on the ground. So, and everything we do, I want to move it higher in elevation, so be more towards this filtration area of our stuff. That's all higher. And we've got 2 big block, 12-inch thick, solid block buildings that will go between that for all of our storage, so we can contain everything moving.
Just like Public Works, all that long overdue the little upgrade.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we are. If you guys have questions.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, Mike.
Mayor, we have 5 large FEMA projects that are still ongoing. One is the Paid Park Pavilion, which we've completed, and so we're starting the process of closing that out with the state. Then we have the wastewater treatment plant, which again, most of that work is done. And as soon as I go through the process on Paid Park Pavilion, we'll start the process to close the wastewater treatment plant with the state. And then Maddox Park, that's been obligated. We have those funds obligated, but we need to move forward with that and try to finish that project as quickly as we can. Buck Griffin Lake, we just discussed one of the last pieces. The other piece is to put that small bridge in the middle. So we have to install that small bridge, do the sidewalk work, and then we can start to close out that project. That would just leave Clifford Sims, which FEMA still has that process in their calculation. They've not obligated it over to us. It's not finalized. So that's where we are with wrapping up all of our projects with FEMA. We have those 5 bid projects that are still in process.
Well, it's been 2.5 years, so you've been working hard. We appreciate it.
And they,
We get that off your desk soon and.
yeah,
we got
absolutely.
Other things to do.
And Clifford Sims, like I said, is still in their hands. They've not turned it over to us yet, you know, so.
Mike, they do have the form today, they do have that closeout on those first 10 days that you've been working so hard on, so they do have that one in front of us today to close out.
I'm sorry,
The one that you're working on the first 10 days that included the cleaning of City Hall, the items that were the 414,000.
So you've closed those out?
Yes, sir, there's a closeout agreement that's in their package.
I'm
today.
sorry, I missed the boat on that, Jim.
Yep.
What page is that?
Let's see, it's actually page.
418, 237 on page 134, I guess.
34, yes, sir.
Yep. And we, I think, like I said, there's some 67,000.
Oh, that's, okay, all right, yes, yeah, that's the final summary of funds received on the 418,000 was the.
State's been holding on us and
We
finally got those.
finally have closed that out, and we did receive the $350,000 of that 418.
Right, so good work on that, and let's hopefully we get the rest of it done.
Thank you, sir. I don't have anything
Thank you.
else.
That it?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Mike? Okay, Mr. Engineer is on spring break or something, or what, anybody gonna report? Oh, we have a, okay, great. Got a new face.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Let me sign in. I am Tanya Lakoyak from Earth Balance Corporation, and we bid on the NRCS debris removal job.
Oh, okay.
Right quickly, it's a long last name. And I was born in Davis, so it's really short and easy. So, Mayor Commissioners, again, Tanya Lakoyak, representing Earth Balance Corporation. We submitted a quote for the NRCS debris removal project. Earth Balance has been providing such services for more than 30 years in Florida and Texas. I'm sure you've seen, I've not seen the staff recommendation, but I'm sure you've seen that we gave you a lump sum price and everyone else bid you, as you asked, for a cubic yard price. In our experience, a lump sum bid is the only way that lets you, as city officials, compare apples to apples and know that for what you'll spend, you'll get the entire job done for the entire length of the waterway. I'm sure you understand that you know, the bulk of the cost for anyone who bid this job is the actual removal, felling of large trees, pulling down branches, pulling things out that may or may not be submerged. And then depending on how we transport it and how we process it, how we compact it, that would determine how many cubic yards we get. So, you know, the very simple description is that if we took a cubic yard, 3 foot by 3 foot box, and chop down a branch full of leaves, that would pretty much fill the box. If we chip it up and put it in, it wouldn't. So for, you know, 1 cubic yard may take us 5 feet down a waterway, or it may take us 100 feet down a waterway. That's the reason that we bid it, so that you would be able to know that for your budget, the amount that you have, we will be able to effectively complete the entire job in your timeline and under your budget. So, subject to your questions, we are respectfully requesting that you consider bidding at looking at our bid as the lowest and most responsive bid.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr.
Another question, Mayor.
All right, go ahead.
When you did that 387,920, how many cubic yards did you base that on?
We didn't, Commissioner, because some of them will be, what we want to do is do it as effectively as possible. So our plan is to grind and to mulch and to compact, to get it in there. The truth is that we would be incentivized, we would have more cubic yards if we said, let's do it for $10 per cubic yard, but we take one fluffy tree and put it in each cubic yard space, as opposed to chopping it up, wetting it, smashing it, and moving. So it's, is that me? It is hard for us to guess really with the, a wet tire obviously will not compact as well as perhaps a milk crate. So the reason that we bid it that way is to say that in our estimation and having done this kind of work, Collier County, Charlotte County, Galveston, throughout Texas, throughout Florida, that what we've seen is that sometimes it's easily compacted, sometimes it's not, but regardless, we know that amount of labor to do this job will allow us to give you that lump sum guaranteed price.
All righty, staff, recommendation, comments,
Mayor, basically, we'll move on down if you like to. Yes, what we have is we did get a recommendation from the city engineers on this. The project was actually bid out in cubic yards in there. So may or may not come in at the 387 above or beyond.
Thank you.
Correct? But in order to accept that type of bid, we would have to rebid it again because it was bid based on cubic yards. So the recommendation that we had coming down from our engineer was to go with the lowest cubic yard based on what the bids show.
I understand, and sir, if I may say that, of course, to rebid it, our number's already out there, so there's some challenge in
so are
that as
theirs.
well.
Yeah.
If I may, sir, absolutely, their numbers are out there, for their competition within cubic yards.
Yeah.
But again, we really don't know how many cubic yards in any of those bids will be effectuated at the end, and how, and the linear feet of the waterway that'll be treated in order to accomplish those.
Well,
But I do understand your point about the bidding process.
right off the bat, I think it's fair to acknowledge we only have a certain amount of money to pay out. If we accept a flat fee, we now do not have the ability to cut that vendor off when we reach the amount we are willing to spend.
Yes.
But if we agree to a flat fee, we're agreeing to pay you the full amount, and we may run out of funds. How much is the grant
I'll have to
to
go
the
back and
city?
look. I think I want to say a little over
It's 412, I believe.
A little over $400,000.
may I interrupt you guys just a second? Commissioner Langston has to go, take students home from school, so I'm gonna excuse Commissioner Langston to go take those students, and then we'll continue. Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, my other question was, when the letters were sent out for bids to come back, was it specific that they were being asked to make a bid based on cubic yards?
Yes, sir, we did so incorrectly.
Okay, well then,
But not in error, but not as you requested it, because we felt the best way to assure that you would be, we would tell you the budget and we would tell you the work. I understand the logistical municipal challenges.
yeah,
I
because
just,
I hate to say it, but I would just think that the bid would have to be struck completely. It didn't meet the requirements of what we asked you to bid on and how to bid on the job. And it would not be fair, and I would not support re-advertising now that these people, and I don't know any of these people, any of the companies on here, but we definitely wouldn't allow someone who's now seen all the bids to come in and bid lower, but these people have to stay where they were, so.
sir, I understand, but my history is in municipal government, so I understand the purchasing challenges.
We appreciate your comments, we really do.
Thank you,
But
sir.
I think under the circumstances, we've got to, go by the bid specs and it by the cubic yards, so I have to entertain a bid to accept low bidder.
Motion to accept KK Storm LLC.
Okay, motion to accept KK Storm LLC at $37.50 a cubic yard, is there a second?
Second.
Second, by Commissioner Hoffman. Any further discussion? Yes, sir, please come up. And thank you for your patience, you've been sitting out there a long time.
Former Public Works Director, sir, I understand.
Okay.
Just for clarification, the low bidder, which is us, is Kaiser Kane Storm, LLC.
What is it again?
Kaiser Kane Storm.
Oh, it's
Okay.
written down below it.
LLC.
Oh, okay, it was just written on wrong, okay.
Yeah.
That's the same, I guess, same thing, we could say KK, but anyway, okay. So there's a motion and a second, any further discussion, you have any more comments, sir?
No, sir.
All right, very good. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0.
Vice here, but the next step would be working on the contract with you, that way we can make sure that it's cleared up. So, yeah, if you'll be in contact with us in the next couple of days, we'll work with the engineers and get that moving for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll be ready to do our.
Good deal.
Where are you out of?
We're local. We're actually out of Oak Street.
Oh, okay.
Good
So
deal.
we're pretty close.
Yeah, good deal, thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, code enforcement, Jim, any, reports on code enforcement?
We have a code enforcement hearing tonight. I believe there's 5 items on your way out. You can see the items that will be addressed tonight. So we have the code enforcement hearing today. And also the next meeting, we will be bringing back to you one at the corner of MLK and Avenue A for discussion on that, as well as we did open up some bids yesterday, give you a recommendation for 2 more videos.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, Mr. Jake, you're on board.
I have a couple things that, I believe y'all have the letter that I submitted for the sale of K-9 and, trading the K-9 vehicle to the sheriff's office for a vehicle, just patrol vehicle. And I need you guys' permission for that. And-
Okay, let's act on that first. Everybody read the letter and understand what's happening. I think staff feels like that's a good swap, and, of course, Jake being the number one guy on that staff, so, that's his recommendation. I'll entertain a motion to allow it. So moved. Okay, motion by Commissioner Lowry, second by Commissioner Ashbrook. Any further comments, questions? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0.
Also, I need, permission to, get Mike to submit a PO to obligate JAG funds for a new vehicle that I've already ordered. And, it's budgeted for in JAG funds and it's from state contract.
And what was the amount out of the budget you recall?
The JAG was 24,256. The vehicle or out of our funds is 17,149, and we budgeted 18,000, so it come in under our budget.
Okay, so, all right, Commissioner Lowry made the motion, second by Commissioner Ashbrook. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0.
Is that for a new truck, or was that another Explorer?
That's a new truck.
All right, anything else, Chief? Everything good?
Everything's good.
Okay, all right, Ms. Pierce?
You can see the grant update sheet on page 137. There's a layout of the cemetery where we will be moving to next to provide the different lots that are needed for family plots, plots for 4, 2, and 1. And then also is the city election schedule.
Thanks for the grant thing. I think that's important before we get lost on how many grants we're going forward. You got, that we got the money, we didn't get the money, or where it's at, so I like that. And, cemetery, we're expanding that.
We're out of lots,
Yeah.
almost. We've
Yeah.
made 2 or 3 in some sections, a few more in others, but this will be in the perpetual care area, will be the north side past the pump house.
Okay.
That's what we've gone in and carved out to make more available. We do have additional property in front of the pump house that if the trees and all were stumped, dirt, sand, something brought in to level it up, we would have a lot more, but it's all in pines right now.
Gotcha.
And we do have from the fence towards the railroad track, some additional land there that would still have to be stumped, and that I would think would be much further down the road because of what it will take.
So this is the easiest,
Yes, sir.
most economical way. to do
Yes,
it.
sir. It's already in existence, platted and everything.
Okay, very good.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And the
everybody
election
knows the
schedule?
City election schedule. All righty. Okay, anything from Ms. Charlotte? Anyone? All right,
Thank
citizens to be heard. Just one more time now. You're up, get close to your limit.
Yeah. As we said, number one, is the fence behind flag and stuff like that. The other thing is this right here, I know that our emotions, our feeling get involved with codes and law and stuff like that. But my question to the council is, are we gonna turn Northport St. Joe into a trailer park? And I'm saying that based upon this right here. We started out with one, got two, now we got two more. And eventually, people, they're gonna follow the trail. And I'm just wondering, even when we go to the planning committee, you know, last time they came up, they said no, but they still gave the house on Avenue a go. I just wanna know, not for an answer, I'm not looking for an answer, is that, are we gonna turn Northport St. Joe into a, trailer park? It's starting to flow, and, you know, like I said, they're my people, and I'm hoping that they get a place to stay. But I don't think Northport St. Joe area that we coded for non-trailers, should be trailers allowed.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, anyone else? Sure, anybody? Okay. Mr. Ashford, you're on my left, I'll let you get started.
I've just got one quick question. Backflow preventers on commercial property for sewer, is there a such thing?
There is such thing, correct. It's
That's-
called a black water valve, yes, there is that. I've got one in my office, if you'd like to see it.
We've got several issues in the past that have turned into lawsuits, and I saw it again when the lines were flushed recently at another property. Would y'all be willing to entertain the idea of commercial buildings? They already require backflow preventers for the water system, but we've had a lot of sewer issues that we could have prevented if we just had these valves installed.
Yeah, we know downtown's a problem, been a problem, matter of fact, 1 o'clock, Thursday, I believe. DDO's gonna be here to canvass the whole city for our grant request for sewer. And, hopefully they'll see all these roads caved in and so forth, but in the meantime.
Yeah, I think, my question would be, is
How
that?
much would it cost to do it?
Thank you. What does a valve cost on a sewer line?
The valve itself is around $85. Then you have the installation, so not all installs are simple, especially downtown, because those buildings were carved, cut up, one building out of 10, another 4, so it's hard to say.
And that was my question, if we mandate it, we should be able to have those and install those for them and then bill them for that.
Well, yeah.
It's an issue.
It would, and it's something, obviously, if we're successful on the grant, that might be something we can incorporate into that downtown area.
Even if we just start in the mixed use areas.
Starting with, backflows in general, we're still struggling right now getting businesses that are required to have water backflows to install it. So we have another, report due by next week for the state for water. And I'm glad you brought it up. We still have non-compliance with some people. And we talked about this about a year ago, I think. And so now I'm gonna send the report in, but I know what I'm gonna get back. And I think it's gonna be time for us to take that action, that next step, which would be to go out to bid, to have plumbers send us back prices and say, this is what we're gonna charge you to install it, and we'll pick the lowest, but we're at that point. We just absolutely have customers that refuse to do it, and our hands are gonna be tied to either install that and charge them or shut their water off. That's the two choices we have. We've sent letters and letters, and it's just, some people are just not, they don't care.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, if we make a requirement that they have the backflow in the sewer, then, we give them that number of months to have it done. If they don't do it, we do it. Bill them. We could do that. I mean, or they could opt out, but caveat would be if it backs up, don't look at us.
We're not legally liable for
We're
the sewer.
not liable. We could do that, and I don't know, but anyway.
I'd almost say required it. I mean, I agree with you. Because we've been blamed several times.
I had a bathroom built all the way to the top.
So bring it back, to us, and maybe John can get with do we do it, so we're gonna do it for you, or do we do like the water backflow and leave it up to them, and then we have to keep chasing it down to find out if they have done it?
Or we can receive bids from others.
Yeah.
But then it might be the easiest way.
What, work with Commissioner Ashbrook, if you don't mind, and y'all figure out the easiest way. Okay, Mr. Louder? Okay, Mr. Louder?
The only thing I have is I did not get the date you mentioned for this meeting in April with the county.
Yes, sir, the joint meeting is April the 13th at 4 o'clock at this meeting.
And that is a meeting that.
Joint city-county commission meeting.
Okay, that's separate from the meeting that the mayor and Sandy
Yes.
agreed.
Yes, this will be a full board meeting, full city commission meeting, full, county commission.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
The only thing I've got is, we've got a great team up here, we've been working together, everybody's getting to know the staff good. We've got 2 phases of projects. I wanna see some of them get completed. So I'm gonna go qualify tomorrow for 2 more years, and let's see if we get some of this stuff done. And I'm excited about what we got going on. We've all got different opinions up here, we voice them, but we end of the day get along and get things done for the betterment of the city. So, I'm looking forward if I'm able to hang in here a couple more years. That's all I got. Anything else? Anybody? We'll stand adjourned.
I need to see you, Commissioner Ashbrook, and Commissioner